my child's voice.
Hold on, I was like,
Right.
I don't know, you're not lying.
That's what I mean.
Child is there. Now your child's missing for 12 hours
Right.
and you don't know.
Exactly.
You know, it's craziness.
Yeah, no.
That's one thing I looked at like, no, that's going a little too far.
I won't be
for
using
the sake
that.
of convenience.
I won't be using that.
Yeah, but I'm telling you what, I guarantee you, some people somewhere are probably using this and think it's the best thing since sliced bread.
That's insane. Rob stole my no button, but no. No.
Yeah. So, but that's, you know what, it's people come up with ideas every day and they try to make money. I figure worst case scenario, it doesn't take off the ground and go anywhere.
I don't
Best
think
case scenario, you actually make some money from it.
for a limited time, and this has to be in certain areas. It has to be in California. I'm telling you, it's people with nannies. They're not just throwing their kids in the back. You take your nanny with you.
The specific guideline they gave is the kid does not have to be with an adult.
You don't have to be, but I
you
think
can
that
be.
people, yes, but I think that if I'm going to put my kid in there,
But here's the thing: if that's the case, then you would just use Uber if you got an adult.
yeah,
This is designed to be that a child can ride alone. That's
This
the
is
whole
odd.
premise of the app itself.
it's too many.
Is
risks.
no adult needed, but we'll get your kid to where it needs to be.
many.
We'll shuttle them there.
Now, what happens if my kid doesn't make it? Then what? That's a liability that I'm not.
That's a big if.
That's a big.
But what I was saying, I think liability-wise, it's huge.
It is
It's
huge.
huge for the driver. Mm-hmm. I mean, I just wouldn't even feel comfortable putting someone's kid I didn't know
in the
backseat of a car. It just, I don't know. That's what I gave it the side eye because I did not think that was a good idea.
I think that's side eye worthy as well. I think that is. I don't know how that's going to work. We'll have to see and follow. And as of now, it's just in New York and California.
New York and California is
Okay.
where it's taken off, and allegedly they're saying that it's done pretty well.
What part of California?
San Francisco.
See, yeah, you're not doing that in Compton.
Okay, first of all, nobody in
That's not-
Compton would
that's
even
not
be
happening in
considering
New York.
this. I mean, seriously,
You don't think somebody's mama in Compton won't be like, "Here, take Johnny"? You don't think so?
No. I think there is a line that people draw what they will and won't do, and I think that area
what it is.
will be like, yeah,
It's not
no.
happening. Yeah,
Or
it's not happening.
That's not going to happen.
San Francisco, maybe Compton, no.
Something else I read across, I gave a side eye because I don't. For me personally, I don't see why this should be something that's a hot debate. That's why I looked at it like it was funny. In the wake of a lot of violence that we see in different communities, a lot of parents are talking about the debate about toy guns and trying to decide if it's something that should be appropriate that children should have. I don't understand why it's a debate.
I don't either. I don't like it, and I think if you do let your children play with things like even like my son has the Nerf guns, those no,
That's
Absolutely.
ridiculousness.
No,
He's got like an AK-47.
No. That's an AK-47. No,
Obviously, they probably took that picture on purpose for the
but no.
for the
So, but
article,
you still had to put it in the child's hands. I think those things, and what's dangerous about it is because then you don't. Kids that age can't decipher between a real gun and a toy gun, and that's how a lot of kids end up getting hurt because they did have guns and they were real. They make real guns and they're pink and they look like that, and so they had them. I
Glock
can't
does
remember. And I can't remember that in their actual real guns, and I don't know which. It was 2020 or Dateline, one of those things, and they put them on the playground, and kids just went and they started picking them up and playing. They thought they were toys. Of course, they weren't loaded in that kind of thing, but you have to be really aware because when people get used to playing with something like that, and it looks like a toy. That's how kids often get hurt because they can't tell a real gun
I really
from
feel
a-
the key thing is Tamir Rice, the little boy that was shot. You know, because he had a gun.
Right.
Someone saw it, couldn't figure out if it was,
It was a real or
if
a
it was
toy.
fake.
Yes.
And then he, his behavior. I mean, he should have never been. He shouldn't be dead. But
Right.
I just think. I think we live in a world where kids are different. It used to be you could give kids a Nerf gun, a BB gun, all that kind of stuff, and they knew what to do with it.
Nerf guns. I even explained this is something, and you really be careful. You can't go around shooting people. Period.
Right.
And you have to. Somebody has to play with you. I'm like, you just don't start popping off these Nerf things. You just can't do that. So I think you have to explain things like that. But a real gun like that is very, very dangerous for so many reasons. On so many
I just
levels.
think it's sending a mixed message
It
about
is.
something that's dangerous.
Yes.
And
Yes.
how many times have we seen those freaky accidents because a kid didn't know
Right.
how to properly. First of all, I'm just not a fan of guns in the first place, but I
Me
just think
either.
that's not something that kids should really be a part of.
But they're water guns and Nerf guns and those kind of things. But that is too much like a real gun. And then these people who, again, make guns, that look like toys. And kids get hurt. So you have to be, especially if your children are really young. 4 or 5, that child in that picture looks a little 4 or 5.
About 4 or
He
5.
doesn't understand. He doesn't understand. So that's very, very dangerous.
Yeah, so I think, you've had those incidents where kids bring, guns to school,
Yes.
they're loaded. I mean, it's just too dangerous. And I think we need to get to a culture, if we're trying to minimize how much violence we're, subjecting our children to. The first step for me would be, if I had a kid, you're not going to have any toy guns. I mean, I'm like, it's because you know what? Here's the thing: guns are not toys,
Right.
And hence, we should make replicas of them,
Right.
Because it sends the absolute wrong message,
Right.
For people who love guns, I'm not. Hey, I get your point, but you're an adult.
You're an adult.
And you understand the repercussions and the proper use of a weapon.
Yes.
Children,
They don't.
if you're using it in a play context, how do you really discern when that's not right?
You can't. And there was also a show with they had a real gun and took the bullets out. And people who had guns, they were like, no, I explained to my child, you can't. I have my gun and it's locked up, and you're not to touch it, and never pick it up, and never. And they put kids in a room and had the gun on the table, and 2 out of 10 went and grabbed an adult. The other 2 was like, just pick it up, but don't turn into. I mean, they started picking up, and the parents were appalled because they were like, I have had extensive conversations about guns and not to touch them, and we have one in the house, and you're never to touch it. And they picked it up and was playing around with it.
What's really key, especially in children, that curiosity is natural and healthy.
Yes.
And because of that,
Yes.
it is up and incumbent upon the adults to make better decisions and not allow a child to make a decision like that, like not to play with a gun.
Right.
That's the part I think is so idiotic, is that sometimes I think the type of responsibility that adults put into a child's, into their lap, it doesn't
too
make
much.
any sense.
Right.
Because there's still at certain points impulsivity and curiosity. And
they think in their mind, if I be careful, if I don't point it to, I won't point it, because a lot of kids didn't point it towards the the other child in the room, but still it could backfire. Like anything can happen, and so they think if I be careful, but that's a child's mind. If I don't point it this way, and if I be careful, then I'm okay. So the point is, they're still going to play with it, even if you tell them not to. And 9 times out of 10, you tell a kid not to do something, that's the first thing they're going to do.
Exactly the first opportunity they get to do it, because it's like saying do it. When you say don't it's like
just
saying
say
do.
Yes.
So absolutely, that's going to be their kind of behavior. I mean, and that has a lot to do, especially with parenting, how people are parenting now. You got to pick and choose the things that really make sense.
Yes.
And to me, this is one thing I think most parents should just take off their table. It has, I mean, I would ask any parent who wanted to give their kid a gun as a toy, what value does that have in the play experience?
Right.
What value?
Right. Right.
Because what you're doing is telling them to emulate violence, and guns are meant to kill people.
Mm-hmm.
So even if it's just playing, why would you even want to plant that seed in their mind?
Right. Right.
And I think when you start to ask people to think like that, they're like, well, I didn't quite exactly.
You
You didn't think about it, did you?
Right.
But now step back and think about, if you give a kid a gun, what are you saying to do with it? Yeah. Go play with it. But what's the only thing you do with a gun?
Shoot.
You point at other people.
Right.
So I was like, you have to be mindful of the message. You're sending messages to kids often when you don't even realize you're doing it.
You absolutely are. You absolutely
It's like subliminal parenting. I don't think people realize how powerful that really is. Mm-hmm. The message you send without ever saying a word to them about what's right and what's wrong sometimes, just by your actions or things you tell them to go do. As simple as, even when you put a kid in timeout, you're sending a message. You may not know what it is.
Yes.
Yes.
So
how you choose to discipline your child, how you choose to reward them, it sends a lot of subliminal messages.
It does. And I think that, and I don't know, a lot of parents parent how they were parented. Do you understand? Mm-hmm. So we had water guns and everything. I wouldn't have never picked up a real gun and wanted to shoot somebody. Right. I understand water comes out of this and water doesn't hurt. I understand that.
Right.
So you also have to know your child. Like if you have an imbecile, don't give him.
Wow! Did you just call a kid an imbecile? But you know what? There's one out there somewhere.
If you have an imbecile, then don't. Right. You don't give them cotton balls to throw. Anything you know what I mean. They can substitute that with a rock and hurt somebody. So you have to be careful and know your child.
I agree, and I think that's something that a lot of people don't stop to think. Mm-hmm. Besides the fact that you send a subliminal message, then your kids pick up messages of violence just from TV, video games. There's so much information is just invading their minds, and they have to try to discern what's right and what's wrong. Even though you're teaching that too, understand there's also those outside influences. So they see guns being used in other ways that are aggressive, so they're going to emulate that. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I think that's why it's like, just take that one element off the table. Because it doesn't make your kid a better kid.
Right.
It doesn't make them a better student. It doesn't make them a better athlete. It doesn't do any of that. All it does is maybe open up the curiosity that you don't want to open. You don't want. And one day when they do see a real gun, the curiosity might be too strong.
Yeah, you have to be careful with that.
And that's what's really key. All right. So That's my side eye on that. The fact that we have to argue about not giving kids guns, like toy guns. I just think it should just make sense not to do it.
I agree.
All right, that wraps it up.
We're at the end.
That's right. The second installment of the Maya Kai Show with Nikki Braden.
This has been fun.
So obviously, thank you, to Rob G, the technical producer back there.
Yes.
Ad-libbing, doing all kind of stuff.
Yes.
Thank you, Rob, for hanging out, doing an awesome job.
Bimiji Tillman.
That's right. That's
Thank
Bimiji
you so
Tillman,
much.
who's the playwright, producer, and director of Love and Heroes that this weekend will be at the Harold Washington Cultural Center. Go check it out.
Thank you,
It's
B.
a
Cole,
romantic
for calling
comedy,
in.
hip-hop love story. B. Cole was on with him. Superman.
Yes. Thank you, Superman.
And that lead role was pretty cool. Obviously, we are back on Friday.
Yes, we are.
Make sure that you tune in. Make sure you follow me on social media at The Maya Akai Show on Facebook and Twitter, Maya Akai on Instagram, and check out my website for podcasts as well, mayakai.com.
And I am Nikki Braden, BRAYDEN on Facebook, The Nikki Braden on Instagram, and Nikki Braden on Twitter.
All right, good stuff. Until next time, everybody, enjoy the rest of your day.
Be safe.
Your radio never sounded better.
From the Windy City to your city, courtside, the matchup you've been waiting for. A field of dreams for some and a long ride home for others. Sounding so good.
It's time to get busy.
Live from the smooth 90.5 FM HD studio, you are tuned into the Maya Akai Show.
You have my undivided attention.
Streaming worldwide at Live365, iHeartRadio.com. Listen via Sirius Channel 430. Watch and listen at WGSJBC.com.
Maestro, if you please.
The Maya Akai Show. Radio never looked so good.
Got my mind made up, come on, you can get it, get it, get it, get it, get it.